Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I want to thank the chairman of the Education and Labor Committee, Mr. Miller, for his leadership on this legislation. The hearing, which was held at the Education and Labor Committee, was one of the most stunning, amazing, eye-opening events, I think, of this Congress. And the bipartisanship which came together after that hearing to craft this legislation, again, I think is a testament to your leadership and the bipartisanship that you've created on that committee. Mr. Speaker, back in 1998, the Hartford Courant won a Pulitzer Prize for a four-part investigation of seclusion and restraint all across the country. The name of the series was called A Nationwide Pattern of Death, which I'd like to offer a copy of that series for the record, which, again, in chapter and verse laid out the shocking, uneven application of this type of force against America's school children. In Connecticut, it actually resulted in action in terms of legislation which was put into place. Many of the minimum standards which are included in the legislation we're voting on today were incorporated into that measure. But clearly, as a nation, we have much more work to be done. The fact of the matter is that today 19 states have no laws or regulations related to the use of seclusion or restraints in schools. 7 states restraints but do not regulate seclusions, and that's within the 31 that was referred to by Mr. Klein. 17 states require that selective staff receive training before permitting to restrain children. The rest do not. 13 states require schools to obtain consent prior to foreseeable or non-emergency physical restraints, while 19 require parents to be notified afterwards. Only 2 states require annual reporting on the use of restraints. 8 states specifically prohibit the use of prone restraints or restraints that impede a child's ability to breathe. I would argue, Mr. Speaker, that as a government, as a nation, who provides massive amounts of education dollars across the country, we would never countenance racial discrimination, gender discrimination by any institutions that receive those funds. And I don't think it's too much to say that we should not allow these types of practices, which some instances, 30 seconds, which would result in some instances, as the chairman said, in actual deaths and traumatic lifelong injuries to be countenanced by the American taxpayer. This measure establishes minimum standards. It establishes transparency. It gives us as a country the opportunity to allow states to take leadership in terms of implementing their own rules and regulations. But it says as a nation, we are not going to tolerate this type of behavior, which schools themselves are mandated reporters. If it was happening in a child's home and a teacher became aware of it, they would be required by law to report it to child protection agencies as a result of federal law. We can do at least as much for the school environment which children go to every day in this country, and I urge a strong, powerful, bipartisan vote in support of this legislation so that we can raise our children to a new level as they go to school every day, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlemen.